There's something about teenagers with the way that they feel everything so intensely, and all their emotions are on the surface, and it really feels like the world's coming to an end every day. And the good thing about this movie is that Cassie sort of feels that the world's coming to an end, but in her life, the world actually is coming to an end at the same time. So you had this interesting, kind of compelling story about a girl who loses everything and has to find her brother, but across the back of that, there's also this story of a girl who's becoming an adult. She's sort of thrown into adulthood just before she's ready, and then you see her progress until she kind of crosses over that threshold and becomes an adult. And so, for me, it's a really interesting, exciting story, but had this kind of really compelling character story at the center of it. Much of this movie is set basically in a sort of post-apocalyptic world, but for me, it was very important that it was not about how terrible the world is, but how kind of beautiful the world is and how you want to kind of hold on to that beauty. And for Cassie to have a hope and endurance rather than be surrounded by a kind of a bleak, washed out world. So the pitch that I had was basically to keep it emotional and colorful and cinematic rather than have it be kind of grungy and depressing. So, because with the films that I love are very composed cinematic films that really have like a visual punch to them that kind of supports the story and carries you through it and really sort of focuses down on the characters. And so that was the pitch I gave for this, and they seem to go for it. Cassie is in the woods, and then she's in the farmhouse, whereas Sam is in a much more kind of concrete world in the airbase. But they're both sort of going through the same issues that come up over and over again in the movie, which is about who can you trust, how to survive. Can you hold on to your childhood and your innocence, or do you have to give that up to survive? So they're both going through the same issues, but in different locations and under different circumstances. So by the time they get back together, they've both been through a similar experience and are very different people from when they started. So visually, we've tried to make the worlds feel different, but within the same palette. But it's going to be interesting to see how that all comes together. She's fantastic at the emotional stuff and the family stuff and the fun stuff, but she's really good at kind of the tougher sort of the action stuff, because she's wildly experienced for somebody so young. But as we've moved along, she's become pretty much synonymous with the character for me, because she seems to inhabit it so well. And we've been living with the story for a while now, and so she really has her mind is really locked into it, and it's great. Like every day when we turn up and we do another scene, she just knows exactly what this character should be. I mean, I think some of it's because the character is not totally dissimilar from her, which is fun for her, I think, because she often plays these kind of like in Carrie, she plays somebody with telekinesis, and in Let Me In, she plays a vampire, and in Kick-Ass, she plays this kind of crazy superhero. So to play somebody who's actually meant to be normal in extraordinary circumstances rather than somebody extraordinary in normal circumstances, it's given her the ability to kind of plug into stuff that comes from her own life a bit more, and you can really see that kind of coming through in her performance. You're watching your own world sort of slowly evolve into an Orwellian world, and that for me is more terrifying than if we were just dropped there in the first place. And her character is the person that helps us navigate through that. And for me, that makes it all the more powerful, because she started off, to see the journey she goes through and the place from where she starts and where she finishes, it's pretty remarkable. The world has changed and she has changed. Often in movies, the bad guy looks one way and the good guy looks another way, and it's easy to tell them apart. Whereas in this movie, everybody looks the same, and you have to really work hard to find out whether they're good or they're bad, or if they're going to hurt you or not. And the book starts with a scene which is just about that. It's like, trust no one, but sometimes if you lose your trust in other people, it can take you down a dark path. And so I think the theme of the book is trust no one, but in the end it sort of circles back, and it's like, well, humanity is about trusting each other and needing each other, and that's the only way they're going to defeat the others, is because they are human, they are fallible, and that's both their weakness and their strength. And so you trust no one if you want to survive, but you've got to learn to trust people if you're going to win the war. You can create this big sci-fi concept like an alien invasion or something happening in the middle of space that is weird, and then you can use that to tell a story about the emotions and kind of problems of everyday life, and in a way that is a little more interesting, gives you a little more scope to play around with it. And also you get to kind of invent spaceships or kind of tracker guns or weird buttons that aliens push, and so you get to play around inventing something that's completely out of this world and then putting it into a very recognizable world. And for me, kind of injecting little bits of things like that into the normal world is exciting and fun.